Welcome to Royal Secret. It was supposed to be another routine diplomatic visit. Another ribbon-cutting ceremony. Another royal wave from a palace balcony. But what unfolded over the course of King Frederik and Queen Mary's recent overseas tour was something entirely different. Something far more intimate. For the first time in years, Denmark's usually composed and duty-bound royal pair showed a deeply personal, romantic side, and the world couldn't look away. From sweet glances caught on camera to unrehearsed moments of joy and connection, the tour was as much about the strength of their marriage as it was about state affairs. It was a striking reminder that even behind centuries-old crowns and royal protocol beats the pulse of true love. To understand the significance of these tender moments, one must look at the broader picture. Denmark's monarchy is in a historic period of transformation. After Queen Margrethe's abdication shocked the world on New Year's Eve, her son Frederik ascended the throne, bringing along Mary, not just as his queen, but as his life partner of over 2 decades. The world watched with curiosity. How would Frederik rule? How would Mary fit into her new role? Would duty take precedence over emotion? Apparently not. Instead of cold formalities, their first royal tour as king and queen was filled with spontaneous laughter, heartfelt speeches, and unmistakable moments of romantic connection. This wasn't just strategy. It was authenticity. It happened during the couple's arrival at a university reception on the second day of the tour. A seemingly small moment, King Frederik instinctively reached for Mary's hand as they exited the car. She smiled back, not the formal diplomatic smile the public usually sees, but something warmer. Personal. The crowd, watching from behind barricades, gasped. Cameras clicked rapidly. This wasn't the icy formality we sometimes see in royal circles. This was a couple in sync. And as the video of the gesture went viral, international media dubbed it the touch that melted Denmark. But that was only the beginning. Later that evening, at a gala hosted by the nation's cultural ministry, Queen Mary arrived in a stunning navy blue velvet gown, her neckline adorned with diamonds. King Frederik wore a sharply tailored tuxedo. The crowd roared with applause, but it wasn't the fashion that stole the headlines. As the couple walked the red carpet, Frederik paused, turned to Mary, and gently whispered something into her ear. She laughed, tilting her head back with a joy that was clearly unscripted. And then, he kissed her hand. A royal kiss. In public. In front of cameras. It might sound simple, but in royal terms, it was revolutionary. In an age where royal couples often keep their distance to maintain tradition, King Frederik and Queen Mary seemed determined to rewrite the script. With every glance, every word, every step, Denmark's new monarchs were reminding the world that love has a place in leadership. Throughout the tour, the romantic signals kept coming. At an environmental summit, Mary was photographed brushing lint off Frederik's shoulder as they waited for the speeches to begin. Later, at a charity visit with children in a hospital, Frederik playfully placed a daisy in Mary's hair, a flower a child had handed him moments earlier. It was a small, almost silly moment, but it captured something beautiful: spontaneity, affection, and shared joy. Body language experts weighed in almost instantly. "They're deeply connected," one international commentator said. "You can see it in how they align their bodies toward each other. They're mirroring, smiling, and physically connected in ways that signal mutual trust and intimacy." The press couldn't get enough. Social media platforms buzzed with hashtags like #RoyalRomance and #Mary and Frederik. Denmark's monarchy was suddenly trending, not because of scandal or politics, but because of love. But was it all intentional? Some palace insiders believe the couple may be consciously choosing a softer, more accessible image in the wake of rising Republican sentiment across Europe. With monarchies under increasing scrutiny, emotional transparency is becoming a strategic asset. In this context, King Frederik and Queen Mary's affectionate public behavior could be seen as a calculated effort to humanize the crown. But those closest to them disagree. "This isn't about image," one longtime court aide told Danish press. "It's who they are. The cameras are finally seeing what we've seen for years behind palace walls." Others in royal circles point out that Queen Margrethe herself was known for a more reserved public image, often placing duty before emotion. Mary and Frederik, by contrast, are carving out a modern legacy, one that marries emotional expression with regal responsibility. The question remains: is this the new face of royalty? Back in Denmark, the public couldn't be more thrilled. Polls taken during the tour showed an uptick in approval ratings for both the king and queen. And surprisingly, younger Danes, typically more skeptical of the monarchy, responded most positively. "You can tell they really love each other," one university student told a Danish broadcaster. "It makes the monarchy feel more human." Parents, grandparents, students, workers, everyone seemed to be talking not about policy or protocol, but about how cute and real the king and queen appeared. This was not just a successful tour. It was a royal rebranding grounded in affection. International media couldn't resist the story. Publications from Paris to Sydney called it a masterclass in modern monarchy. Royal historians debated whether it marked the beginning of a new era in royal diplomacy. British commentators, always eager to compare, couldn't help but draw contrasts with other royal couples. Whereas some royal tours in recent years have been marked by stiffness or even tension, one analyst noted, Frederik and Mary reminded the world what a loving, united royal couple can look like. It's diplomacy with a heartbeat. Even tabloids, usually the first to critique, ran glowing headlines. One read, "A royal love story for the ages. Denmark's king and queen capture the world's heart." It wasn't just gestures and glances that revealed the deeply romantic side of King Frederik and Queen Mary, it was their words. At a formal diplomatic banquet hosted during their state tour, Queen Mary stepped up to the podium. The room hushed. She wore a sleek pearl-colored gown, her signature soft waves falling gently over her shoulders, a Danish flag pinned discreetly fastened near her heart. But it wasn't the fashion or the setting that stunned the room, it was her speech. She began by thanking their hosts, acknowledging the centuries of friendship between the two countries. But then she paused, and what came next was completely unscripted. She turned slightly to face her husband, her king, and said, in front of dignitaries, politicians, and cameras have walked beside this man for over 2 decades. In private and in public. As a wife and now as his queen. But what I cherish most is something far simpler than titles. It's the love, loyalty, and laughter we still share every day. The room erupted in applause. Even Frederik appeared visibly moved, blinking back emotion before gently raising his glass in her direction. In a monarchy known for subtlety and reserve, this was a public declaration of love unlike anything Denmark had seen from its royals. While Queen Mary's speech drew admiration, it was her choice of jewelry that had royal watchers buzzing with symbolism. During the gala dinner, she wore a brooch that hadn't been seen in over a decade, a stunning ruby and diamond piece once gifted to her by Queen Margrethe early in her marriage. It was believed to be a token symbolizing not only acceptance into the royal family but also personal affection from the Queen Mother to her daughter-in-law. Royal fashion experts were quick to point out the choice of the brooch as a subtle nod to continuity, loyalty, and enduring love. But to many, it was more than that. The brooch's reappearance seemed to say, "This is personal. This is legacy. This is love." In royal tradition, jewels aren't just accessories, they're narratives. And Mary was telling a deeply personal story through her elegant choices. But what the world didn't expect was the revelation of a private gift from Frederik that would take center stage in the final leg of the tour. Sources close to the royal couple later confirmed what fans had speculated. King Frederik had presented Queen Mary with a private, deeply personal gift during the tour's final stop. A vintage gold compass locket from the 1800s, engraved on the inside with the words, "To my heart's true north." The compass wasn't just a beautiful object, it was symbolic. For a woman who had journeyed from Tasmania to the heart of European royalty, who had walked an unknown path to become queen, the compass represented guidance, trust, and home. The fact that Frederik gave it to her during an official royal tour, tucked away from cameras and flashing lights, made it even more intimate. Queen Mary was later seen wearing the locket tucked discreetly beneath her blouse at a children's hospital event. It never appeared in official photos, but observant fans noticed the chain peeking out. Love, after all, doesn't always need to be loud to be powerful. While the couple's romantic gestures were already headline news, royal fans took things to a new level when they began compiling clips of what they called Queen Mary's secret signal to King Frederik. Across various public events, press conferences, handshakes, and school visits, eagle-eyed watchers noticed a repeated gesture. Mary would briefly touch the side of her wrist or brush her earring when looking at Frederik. At first, it seemed coincidental. But as more footage emerged, Fans were convinced. It was their way of saying, "I see you. I'm with you." Social media lit up with breakdowns, theories, and even slow-motion analysis. One TikTok user posted a now viral video titled, "Mary's Signal to Frederik. Watch Closely," which racked up over 3 million views in days. The comments were filled with admiration. This is the kind of romance the world needs right now. Every king deserves a Mary. She's classy, elegant, and deeply in love. We stan a real-life queen. The Danish royal household declined to comment on the fan theories. But honestly, they didn't need to. The footage spoke for itself. Of course, not everything about the tour was romance and roses. Behind the scenes, the pressure was intense. This was King Frederik and Queen Mary's first major diplomatic tour as monarchs. Every handshake was watched, every facial expression dissected. The stakes were high, not just diplomatically, but personally. Royal commentators believe that the couple's decision to lean into their romantic side may have also been a way to manage that pressure. By staying close, both emotionally and physically, they offered one another silent support. Body language expert Dr. Elise Corner told the Copenhagen Observer, "This isn't just about romance, it's about resilience. Their physical closeness is a sign that they're drawing strength from one another in an incredibly high-stress environment. It's beautiful to watch." In a world where royal marriages are often strained by scrutiny, Mary and Frederik appear to be leaning into their partnership, not just surviving the pressure, but thriving under it. Naturally, comparisons were quick to emerge. In the United Kingdom, observers noted the contrast with Prince William and Princess Catherine, who are famously warm and close, but often avoid overt public affection. In Spain, comparisons were made to King Felipe and Queen Letizia, whose cool elegance often dominates headlines but whose romantic signals are more subtle. Yet the narrative was clear. Frederik and Mary weren't just doing things differently, they were doing things boldly. And unlike certain royal couples who have leaned into love to sell brand deals or Netflix specials, Frederik and Mary weren't profiting from their affection. They were simply showing it authentically, genuinely, and with deep emotional impact. As the tour drew to a close, the final public event took place in a botanical garden, an elegant setting where King Frederik and Queen Mary planted a symbolic tree together to represent the growing friendship between the two nations. As the spade hit the soil, Mary glanced at Frederik. He smiled back and, once again, in full view of cameras, reached for her hand. The garden fell silent. Time seemed to pause. It was a simple gesture. But for a moment, the entire world watched a king reach for his queen, not out of obligation, but out of love. That moment would later be called the Garden Pause by Danish media, and images of it would grace magazine covers from Europe to Australia. It was more than a photo op, it was a symbol of how far they'd come, and how deeply connected they remained. As the royal plane touched down back in Copenhagen, many asked what this tour truly meant. Yes, it was a diplomatic success. Yes, it strengthened ties with foreign allies. But perhaps its greatest impact was personal. In an age when monarchy must evolve to survive, King Frederik and Queen Mary have offered a compelling vision of what that evolution might look like, a blend of formality and humanity, tradition and emotion. They've shown that the crown doesn't have to be cold. That duty doesn't mean distancing oneself from love. That to lead with empathy, one must also lead with the heart. Their romantic tour didn't just win over diplomats. It won over people. Thanks for watching.